also a very important topic, and I know it's near and dear to your heart, is your work with the Alzheimer's Association.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so sorry about the loss of your father. I just want to
Thank
tell you that I'm so sorry. And
you so
and
much.
yeah, and I just, if you can share a little bit what you do, and you also
Yeah,
are working with Mind What Matters, which is a nonprofit for caregivers, which is
that's right.
very important for women, because you're probably going to have somebody that you love that this has happened to. So do you mind sharing about that?
Not at all. These are the most, besides my kids and my family and friends, this is the most important thing that I do. I'm lucky enough to have a great job that I love, but this is where my passion is. Yeah, like I said earlier, my grandfather was diagnosed. He had actually vascular dementia because he had had strokes. So that's what caused his dementia. And there's actually there's four different types of dementias. They all fall under the umbrella. There's the regular Alzheimer's that most people know about. There is the vascular dementia, which is another category. There's Lewy body dementia. And then the fourth category is frontal temporal dementias. Most of them are pretty rare and aggressive. And my dad had something called Pick's disease, which is a frontal temporal dementia disease. It was early onset, it's fatal, and it is fast. And I found out in the same month that I was pregnant with my second child, and we had found out while he was in utero that he would have to have multiple heart surgeries to fix his heart. I also found out about my dad's diagnosis, and man, it has been a brutal 4 years. And we now know that he had the disease. I was trying to get my mother to get him tested years before we found out. But this is one thing I tell people who are listening. If you have someone in your life and you think they are struggling with, memory issues or their personality, my dad's was having memory issues, but his biggest thing was his whole personality began to shift. And I kept saying to my mother, like, somebody doesn't just wake up one day a different person. Like, something is wrong. And we actually thought it was a tumor because he was like in his 50s. And why would a man in his 50s have dementia, right? Go and get them tested. They may fight you. I don't care. Book the appointment, get them there.
Mm-hmm.
And because that is very, very, very important. And so, it was fast and furious with my dad. And he passed away on July 27th at 1:11 in the morning. And I was by his side and I held his hand. And, this is going to happen the numbers are only going to quadruple in the next 10 to 15 years in terms of people who got Alzheimer's and dementia, which means the number of caregivers are also going to quadruple. So the reason I work with these two organizations is because Alzheimer's Association really focuses on pouring money into research and development, not just to find a cure for this disease, but for any type of medicines that we can find that can help prevent, that can help slow down, and also any other preventative measures that can happen. And the reason that we want to give our money to them is because, yes, organizations like the NIH exist, the National Institute of Health, but that's a government agency. There's so much red tape. As great as they are, a research and development study at the NIH may take 15 years, where at the Alzheimer's Association, it'll take 2, so they are really that's all they are focused on. And so for me, I raise awareness because I know through them, we are going to, when I take my last breath in this world, I'm praying that I don't have to worry about this for my children. And Mind What Matters, I got involved with that organization because it is really the only organization that exists that is solely focused on caregivers of dementia and Alzheimer's. So what's happening actually is there's actually a large group of young people that are actually having to quit college, quit jobs, give up their future really to stay at home and take care of a parent. So we are looking for those people that need financial assistance, and we are trying to raise the money to give them financial assistance so that they could either hire someone and to come in and help with their parents, or they could be able to put them in a place that is really good for them, whatever that looks like, whatever caregiving looks like for them, so that they actually don't have to give up their entire lives. And for some people, it really is about, being able to possibly even just bring somebody in for 5 hours a week, just so they can have a break. That is so important. I mean, after seeing what my mother went through with my dad, and in this disease specifically, it often takes the caregiver before it takes the person with the disease. It's wildly important. So yes, please go to Mind What Matters, the Alzheimer's Association, or you can follow me on Instagram at Nikki DeLoach, DeLoach. I do a walk to end Alzheimer's every year with my two girlfriends, Ashley Williams and Kimberly Williams Paisley. We're on a team together. We raise money for Alzheimer's. So there's a bunch of stuff coming up. We also have an 80s dance party that Kimberly and Brad host every single year. So you can go and buy tickets for that and come and dance with us and party with us. And all the money goes to the Alzheimer's Association. Come join my team and walk with me from anywhere in the country or the world. And that is on November 6th. The dance is the next weekend, which is, I think, the 13th. So just follow me on Instagram for any and all information that you need about Alzheimer's and dementia. Losing my dad has definitely been the most painful experience of my life. And, he was the greatest dad that ever lived. I am so lucky to have gotten the time that I did with the greatest dad who ever walked the earth. Some people don't even know their dads.
Right.
So
right.
I know that there is a giant blessing in that. And also, he was taken at 66 years old, and that's way too soon. And I don't want this to happen to anyone else's loved one. So get involved, put your pain into something purposeful, and join me.
Well, we all appreciate that so much. We appreciate people like you and Kimberly Williams Paisley and her sister that, this happened to you and you're going to get the word out. Another thing, you're not alone. When this is happening to you, there are other people who are using their voices and their platform to bring awareness to it. And that is so appreciative. And just listening to you, because you know so much about, I didn't know about the types of dementia. My mother had frontal lobe dementia. She had a stroke, and she was a lot older. I'm one of 12 kids. So I'm number 11. So she was 40 when I was born, but she passed away in 2013, and she was doing really well. She was 84 or 85, and she had a stroke. After she had that stroke, she had the stroke in November. It wasn't the same person, and so many things. I have a sister who was a nurse. She moved in with her. My sister was divorced and her children were grown, and she moved in with my mother and took care of her. And I had just quit teaching. I was a teacher. I just quit teaching. And I said, okay, every Tuesday you leave. That is my day with mom. And yes. And I mean, because she needed that. And I have a lot of other sisters, but I had the time. I wasn't working full time anymore. And she was just 100% caregiving to my mother. And she knew what to do, but that took a toll on her. She deserved to see her children. She deserved to go out to eat. She shouldn't have to go see her grandchildren. And I said, that's my day. I'm going in. It's my day with mom. And she passed away in July. So the stroke happened in November and she passed away in July. And by the time she passed away, she would wait. If she knew kind of that my face was familiar when I came in the door, if she was awake. If she took a nap and she woke up, she didn't know who I was. And she asked me if I was an only child. She told, and I was, I know you've got to be kind. You've just got to be kind, and she was actually, I didn't find her to be difficult, but she would really, if she did become difficult, my older sister bore the brunt of that. And I feel like that was because I just don't really know, because she was familiar. She was there all the time. I didn't bear the brunt of that, but it is so hard and it's so important. And another thing to not feel alone. And I won't say another, but we have another situation coming up with another family member that we've just found out about, and just trying to find resources to help, especially caregiving, especially prevention. So, oh my goodness.
If I'm putting this out there, if this family needs any assistance or help or whatever, please reach out and let me know. happy to talk to them. And I know, I go through this also being an advocate at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, taking families through heart surgeries with their little ones. And it's so interesting how many people are actually in the beginning, especially, really adverse to reaching out for help. They don't have the answers. They don't know what to do, but they're so scared to ask somebody, especially if they don't know that person. And I'm the opposite. I will pick up the phone and call anyone. I will literally be like, hey, so you're an expert in this, or you went through this. My name's Nikki, and I'd like to talk to you about so I understand, but the 9 times out of 10, the person is resistant to asking for help. And so what I'm trying to do is normalize that.
Yes.
Normalize that. And that's why I talk about it so much as well, as it's like, I've asked for help. I've learned how to ask for help, because when I had to become an advocate for my child, I was like, I don't have a choice. I have to ask for help. And I don't know how to do this. And 9 times out of 10, we don't know how to do the things that life throws at us, right? But we have to learn to normalize the asking for help, and to make it just be a part of what we do. When something happens, we go, okay, who can I ask for help? So I would say to your friends or anybody, please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to them through anything, or send them in a direction of people that could potentially help them, because it's just so hard, and every case is a little bit different. And especially with Alzheimer's and dementia, you just don't know, you know, until you're in it. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is so much harder than I ever thought it would be. And then you do feel alone inside of that.
You do. And I'm so appreciative. I can't even tell you how much. I mean, I've had an aunt that I love dearly that had so much personality that just went on for years and years. And, everybody knows somebody. Everybody knows somebody. And this will touch your lives in some way. And, so I have a few more things, and you have just been so gracious with your time, but I'd love to hear more. You said your child, that you really got into the work with your child with heart issues. And then also, so go ahead and share that, and then I'll ask another question I want to ask more about. But if you don't mind sharing a little bit, I know you've done a lot with that.
Yeah. So we found out when he was in utero that he had 4 heart defects that would require a giant overhaul on his heart when he was born. So at day 5, he was 5 days old, he did his first giant heart surgery. He had his second one a year later, and then his third one 6 months after that. So 3 in the first 2 years of his life, and he'll have to have more. And I can't even begin to tell you, Children's Hospital of Los Angeles is the greatest children's hospital in all the land. I mean, we were so fortunate. I mean, the surgeon there, Dr. Von Starnes, he is one of the top pediatric heart surgeons, not just in our country, but in the world. I'm saying that for any mother out there who's listening, or any person who knows someone that is going through this. It is the most common defect that children are born with. 1 out of 100 kids are born with a heart defect. Now, so we don't often catch them, because they don't do echocardiograms on babies whenever they first come out, unless they think that there's going to be a problem, right? My oldest has never had an echocardiogram in his life. I would love to, again, before I take my last breath in this world, make it mandatory that when children are born, they have echocardiograms done on their heart, and it's paid for by insurance. And it's just something that happens, because when you are dealing with 1 out of 100 kids born with this, we need to be doing echocardiograms on them when they're born. And because I've heard horror stories of parents losing, just one day their kid didn't wake up, and it was a heart problem, and they did not know the whole entire time. Because you can actually live sometimes for a while without knowing that there's something going on with your heart. And heart issues also cause dementia and Alzheimer's, by the way. So my dad ended up, we found out, we didn't even know this because he had never had an echocardiogram. He had an enlarged heart.
Oh, that runs in our family. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that runs in our family.
So these are things we need to know. We need to be so proactive about our health, because if you've got something going on with your heart that can be fixed and prevent you from getting dementia, Alzheimer's, or heart disease later on, heart disease being the #1 killer of people in the United States of America, then we need to be proactive about this, right? So get your heart checked if you're out there. My whole family, I have now sent to get their hearts checked. My husband, everyone that I know, I'm like, have you had your heart checked? Get your kids' hearts checked. And here's the cool thing about Children's Hospital, and why it's not just that they saved my kid's life, they saved millions of kids' lives. And they do so if you don't have insurance, if you don't have money, it does not matter. They will not turn your child away, and they will give your child the same care as any other child. So we raise money. We raise a lot of money for the hospital to make sure that we can take care of all children. It broke my heart to be in that hospital. And there was another little baby that was in there, and her parents weren't there. And I asked, like, well, where are the parents? And, and one of the nurses was holding the baby because she wanted the baby to be able to be held, right? And she's like, I just come in here and hold her and pick her up so that she knows. And both parents were working, between the two of them, 5 jobs. So they couldn't be at the hospital. They couldn't take off because they were living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. So I am a big believer of the measure of a good country is how well we take care of our most vulnerable. And we are failing in so many ways in this country. We are doing a lot of really great things, but we are failing when it comes to taking care of our society's most vulnerable, and children fall into that group. And so for me, supporting Children's Hospital, it's not just about what they did for Bennett, it is what they're doing for millions of children every single year.
Absolutely. When you said that, when you said the Enlarged Heart, and we found out about the Enlarged Heart that runs in our family because my nephew, when he was born, he was large, he was huge, 11 pounds. Wow. And I'm not sure if they did an echo on him. They did, because they knew his heart seemed larger. And so here he is in the NICU next to tiny 4-pound babies, and he's like this. And they said, it could be he's a big baby, but we want to keep an eye on this because his septum seems bigger. So when he's 4, I want you to bring him back. She brought him in when he was 4. It was enlarged. Septum was thick. They threw my sister on the table at the pediatrician, did an echo on her, and said, your septum is thick. Yeah. And so we all then we were like, oh my goodness. My mother had a thickened septum, got dementia. My sister had a stroke when she was 48 and passed away, my oldest sister. So and afterwards found out she had an enlarged heart. Yeah. And so I think I had the echo. I've had genetic testing. I don't carry the gene, but like 4 or 5 of my sisters have it. And then some of my nephews and nieces have it now. And I just happen not to have the gene, but we didn't know.
So important that you guys did that. It's so important. I'm glad, because then it can be fixed and it can prevent you from having other really, really serious health issues that cannot be fixed later in life.
We've had one sister had surgery. My nephew had an implanted defibrillator. So it's about right here. Looks like a cell phone under his skin, but not bad. And his mother is going to get one this fall. Is going to get her, implanted defibrillator right here under her skin. And they said if it ever goes off, it'll feel like you got kicked in the chest by a horse, but you're gonna be alive. So that you will survive the kick in the chest by the horse. So that is such a big issue. But the echo card, I don't know why they decided to do the echo. He was born in Louisville, Kentucky, but they did. I don't know because he was so big, but they did. And, and when it's 1 in 100 children.
1 in 100 children.
This does need to be a battery of tests. There's so many things.
No, it really does. It needs to be a battery of tests. When they're born, it's like, hey, it will take 10 minutes. Just take a look at this heart.
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
It's not invasive. It's like a little wand with that little jelly stuff, and you just take a little look at it and just make, oh no, everything looks good in there. Good. Great. That's all that has to happen, so that we know that there's nothing going on in there that we need to keep an eye out for,
Absolutely.
Yeah. So everybody go out and do your due diligence.
Do it. Do that echo. It doesn't take any time. And, and then when you said the insurances and what should be paid for in this country, when I hear about, and this is a whole nother thing about women's issues, and I hear about killers like ovarian cancer and things like that. And if they would just do these, the ultrasound, Yes, just
Do
please
you
just
know
do it.
that for the longest time they were doing research on men for ovarian cancer?
They don't even have ovaries.
They
What?
don't even have ovaries, but they were studying men for ovarian cancer. So we, like, our whole health system, and listen, these aren't the doctors and the nurses' problems. This
No.
is the way it was set up from day one. We have to restructure so much. And it really does come down to, it's that thing we were talking about earlier about prioritizing male health over female health. But also it happens when women come into the doctor and say, especially with women of color, and say, oh, I'm in pain, or I'm having problems with this. Women, and especially if you're a woman of color, are less likely to be believed.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
there's now we have all of this research and studies that have been done about how women get treated in the medical system. And we have to become, like, because the system is not going to change itself, we have to become our own advocates. And we have to say, I've done this so many times with my child, why not do this with myself, right? And say, you know what? I do want the test. I know you don't think that I need it, but actually I want it. Or I don't agree with you there. I know you don't think that this is problematic, but it's actually causing me a lot of pain. And if you're not going to do what you need to do to take care of me, I'll just go to another doctor. We have to be that vocal about our health. I mean, I've done it with my son. I've been like, I don't like that. No, we're not doing that. Or we are doing this, or this is how this is going to go down. If we're going to do it for our kids, we also have to do it for ourselves and our other loved ones. Because, with my husband, I had to basically drag him to the doctor to start getting yearly physicals. I was like, you're 40. Come on, let's go. He didn't want to. He was like, I'm fine. I'm like, you have cancer in your family. We got to get ahead of this. Stay on top of it. Health is everything.
Absolutely. I couldn't say it better. It absolutely is. And I want to thank you so much for your time. But if we have time, can you share with me this new project you're working on? The Fugitive Safe Surrender. I thought that sounded so interesting.
Thank you so much. Well, I have Taking the Reins that comes out September 25th on Hallmark. It's a fall movie. Romance, people, if you want to just turn something on and just like check out for 90 minutes, it's perfect. I'm also about to go film my Christmas movie on Wednesday. And then I've also written another movie with my writing and producing partner that I'm not in, that will air on Hallmark on December 18th, called Christmas for Keeps. But I'm not in that one. I just wrote it. And then this other project called Fugitive Safe Surrender, my writing and producing partner, we were so fortunate to have this IP from a book brought to us and said, this is a really important story. We don't know what to do with it. Can we kind of hand this over to you guys to see if, like, what you would do with it? And we read it and we're both like, this is not only incredible, but it is a story that needs to be told now, and here is why. So many years ago, Camden, New Jersey was considered one of the most dangerous cities in the whole entire country. And New Jersey was considered one of the most dangerous states at the time. And this incredible man, Jim Plusas, he was a U.S. Marshal under Bush, and then he became a U.S. Marshal for the state of New Jersey. And he wrote a book on this program, this initiative that was started because they were really trying to take a look at, like, why is this happening to our state, to our hometown? Like, what is going on? And they realized that there were thousands upon thousands of warrants that were out with traffic violations, petty crime, things that really, at the end of the day, people just didn't have the money or the means to be able to handle. So what did they do? They ran. And then when you run and you don't have a license and you can't become a member of society again because you can't get a job, what do? You do whatever you have to do to survive. So it's this cycle that just keeps happening. So they were like, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a program where people could turn themselves in and then stand before a judge, and we can get this worked out. If it is a warrant that was nonviolent, and we can, we'll figure it out. We'll put you on a payment plan. We'll clear your name. You can you can go be a member of society again. And what they ended up doing, I mean, it was a giant lift to do this. But they really thought about it and thought, in order to be able to do this, we have to know, people have to know that they can trust us. So they got the church involved. So Jim brought in Father Mike Mannion, who is one of my favorite priests in all the land. He spent over 20 years with Mother Teresa. And then this incredible man, Reverend Parker, who ran one of the biggest churches at the time in Camden. So if you turned yourself in at Reverend Parker's church, there were judges there in these little set up in these little booths. And we would clear your name and let you become a member of society again. And they ended up saving the lives of over 18,000 people in the state of New Jersey. They repeated the program 4 other times and turned their entire city, their entire state around. And it's just working. You had police officers working with clergymen together to heal the community. Right now, we have everyone fighting on how to do this, right? And now we have a story about the heart that exists behind the badge and the heart that exists behind the cloak. And these men and women in these different institutions working together to give people a second chance at life. We have never needed this story more. So we are looking for, if anybody listening or anyone that you know has been saved by this initiative, we are wanting to tell your story. And so please let us know, get in touch with me on Instagram or on Twitter or any of the social media. I'm on Facebook too, and let us know so that we can, and if you want to, so that we can tell your story of how this program saved your life. Because really and truly, the whole goal of this is to be able to have these programs throughout the country so that people can legitimately not get stuck in the system and actually be given a chance to live a life, the life that they really deserve.
Oh, that is so important. It just reminds me too, women that maybe were sex trafficked, anything like that. That's so hard for them. So, that is so important.
It's so true. And I mean, think about it. I've had tickets. I've had so many tickets, traffic violations, speeding tickets, whatever. I have the financial means to pay for those, right? So imagine if you don't have the financial means, you can't pay for it. Therefore, you don't show up in court. And the next thing that you know, there's a warrant out for your arrest. It can happen to anyone, but I just happen to be a privileged person that could go to my parents and say, or my grandparents and say, I'm so sorry, can you pay for this? And then I'll do chores and I'll work it off, or I'll pay you back, or I'll whatever. There's so many people that don't have that. Right. And we think about people if they broke the law, right? And I'm doing quote unquote broke the law, well, maybe they should have figured out a way to pay for it. Some people don't have that option. We need to actually remove stigmas around that stuff, because I know people, tons of people who have gotten traffic violations, DUIs, all sorts of things, and have been able to have the money to be able to get out of it, or to be able to deal with it. So they didn't have to do prison time. So they didn't have it hanging over their head for the rest of their life. So I just am a firm believer of whatever, everybody deserves that level of consideration and mercy.
Absolutely. Wow, that is fabulous. I think that I look forward to seeing it. I look forward to hearing it. And I hope this reaches out to so many people, because people deserve it. And so many of them are young. And then if they're young and this happens, they're just fighting the rest of their lives.
It's the rest of their lives. Yes. And I mean, and this program turned the whole state around,
that's amazing.
So many people. So it's a big deal.
What an amazing program. I thank you so much for your time and all these incredible topics and projects and everything that you're doing. It's just your heart must be really huge, and not that kind of heart, huge, not a defect, but just
not in a heart surgery kind of way.
Not hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, no. But I was like, that didn't sound good when I said it. But thank you so much for sharing your time with us. I mean, it's so important, the work you're doing, and also the entertainment and the joy that you bring. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm a little sad that I missed this amazing conversation with Nikki, and I hope to have the opportunity to meet her at some point in time, because what she is doing for Alzheimer's and heart conditions with children, you can hear the passion in her voice with what she's doing. So we thank her for her time. Make sure to check her out on Hallmark, because she is Hallmark's sweetheart and will be on many of the shows, not just Christmas, but she also did a fall one that came out September 25th. So check that one out as well. Guys, make sure, like I said in the beginning, you are subscribing to the podcast because you never know who we're going to have on next. It's always going to be informative and related to midlife and beyond. So with that said, have an amazing week. Bridget, thank you for taking the reins on this one.
No pun intended. It was a delight. It was a delight to talk to her. She was so very kind and just, she shares so much, and you can tell the passion, like you said, that she puts behind the Alzheimer's research, the work with children and heart conditions. And it just was a delight to talk to her. So thank you all so much. And like Colleen said, make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms, and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.